How's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. Well, my royal family, when I ran up on this today, I said this is quite fitting because it is burning down in California. And I know somewhere else in America there is a fire. And so what we are looking at here is various pictures of the Tulsa race riots and fire. I wanted to add that part for a very special reason. And so I did what I do usually, my royal family. I did the best research that I could, and I have a number of videos to show the royal family. But first, what I'm going to do is read this article. And some parts already I'm going to skip because it's just not necessary. So, white folks embarrassed to admit they just learned about the 1921 Tulsa race massacre through a series of Watchmen. So they have a series on HBO that I didn't even know about. I'm just learning it today too as well. I don't watch much TV. I'm always on the computer doing something. I may watch it, I may not. We shall see. So it says here, where are we going to start? Okay. The comes nearly 100 years after it's hard for me to say that. I'll just say our royal son and a orphan baby girl are the lone survivors after planes dropped bombs on the community in the 1921 Tulsa race massacre. The 21st century incident saw the Ku Klux Klan invade the area of black wealthy known as Black Wall Street. On May 31st, 1921, and killed at least 300 people, 90% of whom were black, over the course of 16 hours. The community was left in shambles, burnt to the ground after white mobs destroyed 35 city blocks where 1,200 people lived. Moreover, 600 thriving businesses were lost, and among them were 30 grocery stores, 21 restaurants, 2 movie theaters, and a hospital. The moment has been deemed the single worst history of racial violence in American history, according to the Oklahoma Historical Society. But many white viewers of the Regina King starring Watchmen had been unaware of the massacre, of which news reports on the matter were grossly suppressed, according to History.com. Many of these watching the show admitted their ignorance of the event that ravaged a once wealthy area in which 6 black families owned their own planes. When only 2 airports were built, it never returned to its former brilliance after desegregation. Unfortunately, it wasn't until I was an adult that I learned about Black Wall Street and the Tulsa race riots. I'm an American in my late 30s and had never heard of Black Wall Street or Tulsa race riots until tonight. I only learned of them after researching a scene in which Watchmen that I initially assumed was a fictional event because of the aircraft. Wow. I'm embarrassed to admit I had never ever heard of Tulsa race riots of 1921 before tonight's episode of Watchmen on HBO. Even then, I thought it was part of the show's hyper violent alternative history. Okay. Others had already been familiar with the historical act of violence were pleased to see that the incident was garnering more attention. When Americans' history can't hide it forever. That's true. They can't hide it forever. They nasty gonna continue to come out. With one full swoop, people are now Googling Bass Reeves and the Tulsa Black Wall Street riots and finding out that yes, these are based on real events. I'm glad people are now learning, but I'm endlessly disappointed that Americans always wait for a movie to teach them history. It's frustrating. A lot of these people play like they don't know about it. They know about how they grimy folks get down in America. Well, this first video I'm going to show is just kind of going to go over the various destruction in the black community. We were thriving on our own. We wanted for nothing. But the enemy's nature has not ever changed at all. And when we are thriving, they feel inadequate. Okay, what's really going on? right, my royal family. All right, all right. The things that we read, my royal family, is not new to us, not shocking to us, one damn bit. It's the same rhetoric. It shows you, and we often say it, that they are not progressive at all. And it shows you how inadequate the enemy truly is. We are a type of people that want to be left alone. And what disturbs the enemy is how quickly that we can thrive. They know that we are superior, and it frightens them to the core. Well, Esau, we are in this space and time, and your gig is up. We're not taking it no more at all. And we're going to continue to expose your core nature.
Tulsa, the African American community in Tulsa was relatively prosperous, well educated. I mean, they had done everything that they were supposed to do in terms of the American dream. You work hard, you save your money, you go to school, you buy property. I mean, this is what they had done under horrific conditions. I mean, when you look at the context of what Black America looked like at the time, the fact that they were able to do this is one of the things that we herald in terms of when we talk about the immigrant story, right? But instead, this created such seething resentment in Tulsa that you had Black doctors, Black attorneys, Black businessmen. I mean, in fact, this area of Tulsa was known as Black Wall Street, to give you some sense of how much it held in terms of value, in terms of esteem, in terms of worth. But that resentment in Tulsa was so intense that it was just waiting for a spark to just ignite it. That spark was a Black messenger was delivering a message. You know, they had messengers back in the day, was delivering a message downtown. And he gets in the elevator, and there's a white woman in the elevator. I believe she was the elevator operator. And from the first floor through the third floor, I mean, the elevator may have bumped or something, and he hit her a little bit, but he didn't hit her. He just got a brush against it. She yelled, "Rape." Now, to understand what the charge of rape means when a white woman yells rape against a Black man in this period, because part of understanding the violence that African Americans faced was to deal with the issue of what was called the sanctity of white womanhood. And that sanctity of white womanhood said that all white women had to be protected from Black beast, so-called Black beast. And when she yelled rape, now the charge was absolutely improbable from the first floor through to the third floor. Improbable. But it was the spark. They couldn't wait because he was the son of a prominent Black businessman. So they the police hauled him down to the station. Well, the Black elite came down to the station going, you know, this is my son, this is my boy. My son wouldn't do this. What's his bail? And like, oh, uppity. How dare you come down here? How dare you? And because the African American community sensed that the sense of anger and violence was rising, it wasn't one or two that came down. There were several of them that came down. I'm like, oh, so what, are you going to storm the jail? They said, no, but we're here for justice. We're here for justice. And then the lynch mob began to form in Tulsa. It was like, oh, these are some uppity Negroes who need to be put back in their place. And the violence began. Black Tulsa was, the lynch mob rode in, but they also came in airplanes, dropping bombs on Tulsa, Black Tulsa. There are descriptions and depictions of African Americans being decapitated, being forced to kneel down and just having their heads severed. There are the pictures of the strafings, of the bombings, of the shootings. Nobody's quite sure what the death toll is. But when you look at the pictures, what you see is an area that had once been thriving. What we say is the American dream, absolutely leveled by the violence, by the lynch mobs, by the airplanes, by the bombs, leveled. Black Tulsa has never recovered. As the bombings are happening, as the violence is happening, as Tulsa is on fire, the governor of Oklahoma is like, whoa, maybe, we should. The feds are looking up going, this is not our issue. I bet you, wow. Nothing we can do here. And that is so indicative of the imbalance that has happened in terms of justice, in terms of rights, in terms of the protection of basic civil.
That last little part, let's freeze that for just a second, because I want to hear that last part that our queen was expressing herself. Let's take it back just a little bit.
That has happened in terms of justice, in terms of rights, in terms of the protection of basic civil and human rights for African Americans in the United States.
Yeah. So, my royal family, let me get this together.
The preceding program is copyrighted by Emory University.
And let's proceed. Okay. So, you notice when we were looking at the aerial shots, that's the first thing that stood out to me was the aerial shot of after these riots. And we are seeing the same aerial shots throughout America, from fires, tornadoes, and hurricanes. Because remember the tornado that we had in Dallas, Texas, and they had drones going over, and literally you would see this, and then they go along and you might see a full neighborhood intact. But lately, this is what we've been looking at, especially with these fires all through America. And we will see more of it right now because California is still burning, and the hood has not been touched at all. Guys, truly speaking, my royal family, guys being very selective in directing, well, the angels, because we have angels to take care of this, what neighborhoods it want to go to. Because I remember 3 years ago they had a major fire here in California. And do you know what was so eerie to me and my husband is that the fire would just go chill somewhere during the day, wait at night, jump across the freeway, and select the houses the fire choose to burn down. I was like, wow. And even as I speak, my royal family, more fires are kicking up in America. You see how symbolic, my royal family, these fires is. The enemy had no qualms about destroying our neighborhood. And the government, because the sister spoke, was very complicit with their silence, wouldn't lift a finger at all. So now we are in this space and time. And now the government is doing the same thing, but their own are burning down in the streets of America. I have not heard one word iota, my royal family, from the enemy's leader. He don't give a damn about them. The government know what's going on. these candidates know what's going on. You see how history repeats itself. There's many, many messages. We are using our spiritual eyes. We are listening with our spiritual ears. And we are taking it all in, Esau, and your supporters. So, before I get into the last video, I do have, let me go over here first. From the Oklahoma Historical Society, I will put this link here if you want to look deeper into it, and also from the Atlantic Star. And I went over here to the History Channel, went to this link. Let's see if this thing will work. You can see here, we had our own hospitals. Let's see what's going on. Wow, look how horrific that is. The violence began on May 31st and left hundreds of black residents dead and more than 1,000 houses and businesses destroyed. Look at them neighborhoods. Those was decent houses too. I can tell just by looking at that first one. And then they just stand around. They want to watch it burn down. Well, y'all having to atone for your ancestors' misdeeds. Okay, some of them show, some of them don't. Let me click back. Let's see. See if we can get anything here. Yeah, start acting a fool again. I don't think I'm gonna be able to show anymore. Let's see what we got here. Nah, it don't want to show anymore. It's a glitch in this website. That's all right. We'll get deeper into it, my royal family. So, now I have another video. This video is a little over 8 minutes. The Tulsa Race Massacre, then and now. Cut this up. Let's see what we got going.
Time for our nation.
It's American history, it's Oklahoma history, it's the history of the city.
An event so terrible, many history books have shamefully left it out.
I was surprised to learn how much my kids did not know.
They're talking about the 1921 Tulsa Race Riot, or as many know it, the Tulsa Race Massacre.
This was our nation's worst race riot.
Michelle Brown is with the Greenwood Cultural Center. Her office sits on the very spot where nearly 40 acres of vibrant, prosperous property was destroyed, and at least 300 innocent African Americans were senselessly killed. It's a repulsive, violent act that is still affecting lives today.
Having not received any type of reparations, just now being at a point where we are truly acknowledging this history, there's a lot of historical trauma that they are experiencing.
Dr. Carlos Hill teaches African and African American studies at the University of Oklahoma.
What have been one of the wealthiest communities, most educated communities, most peaceful communities in the country was destroyed in less than 18 hours.
The hatred overflowed on May 31st, 1921, after a young black man named Dick Rowland entered the Drexel building in downtown Tulsa and stepped aboard an elevator being operated by a white woman named Sarah Page.
Dick Rowland walks into the elevator, Sarah Page is there, the elevator door closes, there's a scream, the door opens again, and she runs out.
Within hours, Rowland had been accused of assault, even rape. He's arrested and placed in the city's jail. Newspapers in town begin to run their version of the story.
Newspapers in Tulsa begin to report an assault, and even a rape.
As the story spread through the white neighborhoods, so did the anger.
And there's talk of a lynching, that Vic Rowland's going to be taken from the jail and lynched that night.
A small group of armed African-American men go twice to speak with the sheriff, offering their support to help guard the city jail from the angry massing mob. The sheriff declines both times, but as the men are leaving the second time, a white person confronts the group.
And then tries to take away a gun from one of the men.
The African-American men stand their ground.
And a melee ensues. The gun is fired. A white person is shot. And from that point, as we would say, all hell breaks loose.
The African-American men retreat down the road to the Greenwood district.
And they are followed very closely by other white men.
Gunfire continues to be exchanged between the groups.
When daybreak came, there's an even larger group of whites that have sort of mobilized, and at daybreak they enter into the Greenwood district.
What was a neighborhood of intellect, family values, some of the most successful African Americans in the country, became a war zone.
Began to burn, loot, kill innocent people, bystanders.
African Americans caught in the violent racist attack were killed, their livelihoods wiped from the map.
Their community was destroyed, their homes were destroyed, their businesses were destroyed, their churches were destroyed, their schools were destroyed.
Since then, Tulsa has been left with a scar that is yet to heal, wounds that have caused distrust of city leaders and allowed for systemic racist policies to dictate the lives of African Americans in Tulsa.
So the way that they feel about the police, the way they feel about city officials, the way they feel about being citizens of Tulsa.
Michelle Brown says only in learning the full history of the Tulsa Race Massacre can one begin to see the pain it has caused Tulsans for a century.
When we realize and acknowledge the history, we understand some of what they are experiencing emotionally and mentally and even spiritually.
That's why having the knowledge and courage to educate Tulsa's youth about our history is critical.
For a lot of kids, when they think of topics like segregation, they think of the deep, deep South, and they don't really connect it to Oklahoma and Tulsa.
Shrita Ashley teaches history at Edison Preparatory School. She says educating students about the race massacre helps them self-reflect and grow as young adults.
It made it more real for them because they could connect to places they knew in town, parts of town that they had lived in the past or live in currently, and understand why was there so much difference between different segments of Tulsa.
But having these conversations has proved difficult for many adults, even teachers.
They did not feel comfortable talking about this part of history in their classrooms. They didn't know how to discuss it and address it.
Brown saying many educators she's mentored lacked enough knowledge to facilitate meaningful conversations.
They did not know enough about it to be able to educate their students about it.
For Shrita Ashley, the educational process for teachers begins with self-awareness.
And be okay with accepting that you've done things wrong, and it's okay. You know, you're a person, you're a human, and you realize this hasn't been working, and it's okay to change that.
Saying it's important to be okay with being uncomfortable, knowing students have a safe place to learn, discuss, and express themselves about the terrible events during the Tulsa Race Massacre.
So I think by having kids exposed to teachers who can guide them and facilitate those types of discussions helps the kids see how to.
Let me stop for a minute. Y'all know I have to stop. That's some coon ass shit. Ain't nothing okay. You don't get no motherfucking forgiveness. We don't have the ability to forgive. Fuck you, Esau. You killed my family, our royal family. And then you got some motherfucking coon, because they scared to death to hurt these motherfuckers' feelings. My job is to keep your ass uncomfortable. I ain't gonna hold back at all. You see how our folks get down? And then they teaching that shit. It's okay. Let me teach the shit. Because I ain't going to be smiling when I teach the shit. And I ain't going to mince my motherfucking words. You're not forgiven at all, Esau. A lot of people knew about this fucking history. They like to play dumb. That's how they get down in America. Where you being smoked out, Esau, and you being exposed, Esau. With your grimy ass woman. She's still pulling the same shit. Now she pulling it on you. And you want that bitch out of the workforce. She can't even produce nothing for you. Again, Becky, you a barren bitch. You have absolutely no value. You see what one motherfucking white woman caused? One! There were many Rosewoods in America.
To facilitate those discussions.
They need to be aware of and be able to understand sort of how this issue still impacts them, how it still impacts their community.
That they give students the freedom to respond as openly and honestly as they would like. Give them the opportunity to express themselves.
The hope is that by educating students about the Tulsa Race Massacre and the lasting effects still resonating in Tulsa today,
The biggest strides and the biggest changes are definitely going to come in having kids grow up and take in those positions of power. They become the teachers, they become the leaders.
that they can grow into more well-informed adults that can create positive, lasting change in Tulsa.
Most of these students, as history has shown us, will be here. They'll be leaders in our city, and they can see where these problems started, and they can figure out where to go from here.
Hoping one day the deadly racist attack will serve as a reminder of our evil past, but also highlight the qualities of African Americans who endured such terrible acts of violence and oppression.
It was an attempted expulsion that was unsuccessful, and I think probably the thing that Black people are most proud about in relationship to the Tulsa Race Riot or the massacre is the fact that the community was rebuilt.
That African Americans in Tulsa would not break to the pressure of racism and injustice.
It's a testament to the strength of the community. It's a testament to the high quality of the people who were adversely impacted by the race riot.
And the importance of learning about our history so the city can heal, ultimately making Tulsa a place everyone feels welcome, that everyone can be proud to call home.
It makes the society better. That's why we believe in public education, right? Because an educated public leads us to all have a better quality of life.
And so I think it's more than just a history of violence and destruction. It's also this really story about courage and persistence.
All right, my royal family. And let me freeze that for just a second here. Let me go back. Just a little tiz. Homegirl, you knew your ass was going to be filmed. You could have put on some better clothing. You could have hooked your hair up and did something. Put on some motherfucking earrings or something. You look busted from head to motherfucking toe. I had to say it, my royal family. You know? And these damn coons are soft shoeing it. And the reason why they doing it, because they are working under Esau's school district and their dollars and all of that. See, when we are controlling our dollars and teaching our children, we teach them core ass truth, and you have to teach them in such a way that that is our enemy and this is what they caused. And if they would have stayed out of our affairs and we would have continued to stay separate, like our father said, ye be separate, no telling where they would have been. They would have overtaken that entire state. And I would say those people are the enemy, and they are doing the same repetitive shit as I speak. Every millisecond, they doing something to us. And they really think that they can continue to live this life. They would like to go back to this. That's what I would tell our royal babies. Core motherfucking truth. And they'll look at Esau in a whole different light. Your city ain't gonna heal. Your city need to burn down like everything else in America. It needs to be purified. It's sinful. It's grimy. It's greasy. Yes. And Esau brought all of that demonic energy. I don't like when people soft shoe shit, because our babies have good understanding. The way I was taught, it was raw. It didn't affect me. But see, they coddling the enemy. No. You don't get coddled. See, these motherfuckers do all this shit, and then they want people to like them, and they want to have a legacy of doing wonderful things. No, you don't get that legacy. You don't dictate our path. We will dictate it, and we will continue to expose you, Esau, and your raggedy ass, pasty ass, barren bitch that has absolutely no value. I feel good when I say it. Now you see why I get on her ass heavily, my royal family? Oh yeah, I gotta rub it in a little bit more. You will be the first, Becky. Oh, wait a minute. You are the first now. And your man have not gotten away with anything. He upheld your shit. One motherfucking bitch caused all of this, and they knew the bitch was lying. They just had to have an excuse to go the fuck off. These people are so deranged, they didn't even care if they had adequate plumbing, just as long as they felt superior over the royal family. Boy, y'all some inadequate motherfuckers. Non-progressive, spineless, demonic, weak-willed cockazoids. Let me get on off of here because I'll be going in all night, my royal family. So, my royal family, render your voice with your beautiful divine words. And as always, my royal family, I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support. And with that said, Ashe.